Culture and Science, the Third Testament, Revelations of Jesus Christ, Chapter 50. The Pride and Vanity of Knowledge. Thus saith the Lord, I asked the men of this time, who consider themselves to be the most advanced in history of the world, have you not found, with all your talent, a way to make peace, to achieve power, and obtain wealth that does not mean killing, destroying, or enslaving your fellow men? Do you believe that your advancement is true and real, when morally you are dragging yourselves through the mud, and spiritually wandering in shadows? I do not fight with science, since I inspired it in man. What I censure is the purpose to which you sometimes put it. Humanity, daughter of light, open your eyes. See that you are living in the era of the Spirit. Why have you forgotten me? And why have you wanted to compare your power with mine? I tell you that the day some scholar with his science forms a being in your image and bestows upon him both spirit and conscience, I will put my scepter in his hands. Your harvest, for now however, shall be different. Why have there always been, as there are now, men who, having learned human science with the faculties given them by their Creator, use them to struggle against or repudiate the divine science? The answer is that their vanity does not permit them to enter the arcane of the Lord with humility and respect. So instead, they seek thrones and other objectives in this world. Nowadays, men feel themselves to be great. They exalt their own character and are embarrassed to proclaim God, calling Him by other names so as not to compromise their pride or bring themselves down from their own pedestals. That is why they call me the cosmic intelligence or the architect of the universe. But I taught you to say, my Father, or our Father in the second era. Why do men believe calling me Father lowers them or diminishes their stature? How far men have fallen in their materialism, coming even to deny the one who created all. How has the human mind been able to confuse itself so? How has your science been able to deny me and profane life and nature? How? I am in every creation your science discovers, and in every work my law manifests itself, and my voice is heard. How can these men not feel, see, or hear it? Is it by chance a proof of your advancement and civilization to deny my existence and my love and justice? You are not, then, more advanced than the primitive men who knew how to find in every element and every wonder of nature the work of a wise, just, and powerful divine being, to whom they attributed all the good in existence, and whom they worshipped for it. I have come again to give men my word, so they know they are not alone, so that they awaken to the voice of their consciences, and know that after this life, great divine wonders await their spirits. I have spoken to men about those wonders, and it is verified by he who knows how to pray to put himself in contact with the spiritual, just as it is by he who, through science, looks deeply at the mysteries of nature. By those two paths, the mind and the spirit find more the more they seek. Yet, when will man study and research be inspired by love? Only then will his works in the world be solid. For as long as ambition, pride, materialism, and hatred are the motives of science, men will continue to be called to account by the unleashed elements, punishing their recklessness. How many there are who are puffed up by evil, pride, and vanities. How many there are who have fitted themselves with crowns while being naked and miserable in spirit. How great the contrast between my truth and what you believe to be your truth. The consequences of materialist reasoning. If men would feel a true love toward their brethren, they would not have to suffer the chaos in which they find themselves. Everything around them would be harmonious and peaceful. But they do not understand the divine love, and they want only the truth which reaches the mind, not the one which reaches the heart. And there they have the result of their materialism, a humanity that is egotistical, false, and filled with bitterness. Do not become vain with the fruits of your science, for now, while so much progress has been made through it, is when humanity suffers most, when there is more misery, unrest, illness, and destructive wars. Man still has not discovered the true science, that which is gained through the path of love. Behold how vanity has blinded you. Each nation wants to have the greatest wise men on earth. Truly, I say to you that the scientists have not penetrated deeply into the secrets of the Lord. I can say to you that the knowledge that man has of life is still superficial. What is it that you desire most on earth during these moments? Peace, health, and truth. Truly, I say to you that these gifts will not be given to you by your science as you had imagined it. Wise men question nature, and she answers each question. But there are not always noble purposes, good feelings, or charity behind these questions. Men are the small and foolish, who tear from the mother her secrets and profane her intimacy, not with the purpose of honoring her. Taking from her fountains the elements to do good toward one another, as true brethren, but with egotistical purposes, and sometimes evil. All of creation speaks to them about me, and its voice is of love. But how few have been able to listen and understand that language. If you consider that creation is a temple where I dwell, do you not fear that Jesus will appear there wielding a whip to dry out traitors and those who profane it? I revealed to man the gift of science, that is light, and with it man has created darkness and has caused pain and destruction. Men judge themselves to be in the pinnacle of human progress, and so I ask them, do you have peace on earth? Does there exist fraternity among men, morality and virtue in the homes? Do you respect the life of your fellow men? Do you have any consideration for the weak? Verily, I say to you, that if these virtues existed in you, you would possess the most elevated values of human existence. There exists confusion among mankind, for you have put those who have led you to the abyss up on pedestals. For that reason, do not ask why I have come among men, nor judge the reason why I am communicating through the channel of sinners and the ignorant, because not everything that you judge as imperfect is so. The wise man seeks the cause of all that happens and all that exists, and hopes to demonstrate with his science that no truth and no principle exists outside of nature. But I see these men as petty, weak, and ignorant. The men of science, full of vanity, have come to consider the divine revelations as unworthy of attention. They do not wish to ascend spiritually to God, and when they find something they cannot understand, they deny it, so they will not need to confess their inability and their ignorance. Many of them do not want to believe in anything they cannot prove. What comfort can these men carry to the hearts of their fellows when they do not recognize the principle of love, which is what governs creation, and do not know the spiritual meaning of life? Oh, how much humanity has departed from my teachings! All in it is superficial, false, outward, and ostentatious. That is why its spiritual power is null, and in order to make up for their lack of strength and development of the spirit, they have thrown themselves into the arms of science, developing their intelligence. Thus, through science, man has come to feel strong, great, and powerful. But I tell you that strength and greatness are insignificant next to the power of the Spirit, which you have not allowed to grow or manifest. Every day now, you are eating the bitter fruit of the tree of science, so imperfectly cultivated by men, because you have not sought the harmonious development of your faculties. How, after all, could you channel your works and discoveries into the path of goodness, when you have developed only your intelligence, and have left your spirit and heart abandoned? So there you have men resembling the beasts, giving complete free rein to their passions, feeling hatred for their fellows, thirsting for blood, and pretending to turn their fellow peoples into slaves. If any believe that my doctrine might cause the moral fall of man, truly I must tell you that you err greatly. To prove this, to the skeptics and the arrogant of this time, I will allow them to harvest the fruits of their science, and to eat of it until they have had their fill, until a confession arises from their spirits, saying, "Father, forgive us, only your power can halt the forces that we have recklessly unleashed." Human science has reached the limit to which man can take it with his materialism, but when inspired by the spiritual idea of love, goodness and perfection, science can go much further than it already has. The proof that your scientific progress has not had the love of one another as its motive is the moral degeneration of the peoples, the fratricidal wars, and the hunger and misery that reign everywhere. It is ignorance of the spiritual. What do you want me to say about your wise men of today? Those who provoke nature and defy the forces and elements, making the good appear bad? There shall be great pain for having picked and eaten the unripe fruit of the tree of science, when it could have matured with only love. If humanity is not in harmony with the universal law that governs all creation, there shall come a lack of control that manifests itself in the force of the elements. Man has dismantled the atoms, and his evolved brain takes advantage of that discovery to obtain greater power and cause death. If man had evolved spiritually in step with his science and intellect, he would have taken advantage of the discovery of new elements for the benefit of mankind. But his spiritual backwardness is great. His selfish mentality has channeled his creative force to the detriment of mankind, to the use of elements of destruction, leaving behind the principles of love and justice taught by Jesus. And so, when you see the fire rain from the sky, it shall not be that the heavens have opened, nor that the sun tortures you, but the work of man spreading death and destruction. The peoples advance, growing ever more in scientific knowledge. Yet, I ask, what wisdom is this? That the more man penetrates, the further he is from the spiritual truth, where the source and origin of life are found. It is human science, wisdom as conceived of in a world sick with selfishness and materialism. And so that knowledge is false, and that science evil, because with it you have created a world of pain. In a place of light, it is darkness, for it is pushing the peoples toward destruction. Science is light. Light is life, strength, health, and peace. And are those things the results brought about by your science? No, humanity. And that is why I tell you that while you do not permit the light of the conscience to penetrate the darkness of your understanding, your works will never hold an elevated or spiritual principle, and shall never be more than human works. The doctors shall also be called. I will ask them, what have they done with the secrets of health, which I revealed to them, and the balsam that I entrusted to them? I will ask if they have truly felt the suffering of others, if they have learned to descend to the most humble bed, to heal with love the one who suffers. What will be the response of those who have attained greatness, comfort, and luxury through the suffering of their fellow men, the pain that they were not always able to relieve? All of them will question themselves within their heart, and before the light of their conscience, they will have to answer me. Many of those who are spiritually dead must wander throughout the world, awaiting physical death to arrive before my presence. They will then hear the voice of the Lord that will caress them and help them to arise to the true life. What hope for salvation could they have had on earth if they believed that their sins were unforgivable and that they would be eternally lost, even though they felt that they could truly repent and make restitution for their sins? Spiritual beings who had lost all hope for salvation have arrived before my presence, as have other beings who have been sentenced to death on earth by men of science. I, who possess life, have saved those beings from their physical death. There are individuals on earth to whom I have entrusted the spiritual and physical well-being of all people. What are those individuals doing? Are they simply ignoring the high destiny that the Lord has entrusted to them to fulfill? Must I, who sent them with a message of health and life to earth, continually receive their victims? The inspiration of scientific knowledge by God and the spiritual world. If the men of science who move and transform your world were inspired by love and righteousness, they would already have discovered how much enlightenment I have reserved for the science of this era, and not that little bit for which they have shown so much vanity. Solomon was known as a wise man because his judgments, his counsel, and his decisions were clothed with wisdom, and his fame crossed the frontiers of his kingdom, thus reaching other countries. Although he was a king, that man knelt humbly before the Father, asking for wisdom, power, and protection. Recognizing that he was only my servant, and before me he placed his scepter and his crown. If all wise men and scientists would do it thus, how great their knowledge would be, and how many teachings would my secret sanctuary, yet unknown, reveal to them. Ask your wise men, and if they are sincere, they will tell you that they have asked God for inspiration, and I would give them more inspiration if they would request it with greater love for their brethren and less vanity for themselves. Truly I say to you, that all true knowledge that you have accumulated comes from me. All that is pure and elevated I will use during this period for your benefit, for I have granted it to you for that purpose. The spirit of man has evolved. That is why his science has progressed. I have permitted him to learn and discover what he ignored yesterday, but he should not dedicate himself only to material tasks. I have granted him that light, so that he may work for his peace and happiness in the spiritual existence which awaits him. If you have used some of your sciences to analyze and judge me, would it not seem more reasonable to use them to analyze yourselves until you know your essence and your materialism? By chance, do you believe that your Father cannot help you along the path of your good science? Truly, I say, that if you were able to feel the essence of the divine love, knowledge would easily reach your understanding without tiring your mind or exhausting yourselves with the study of subjects which you think are profound and which are truly within your capability. There is found in the great works of humans the influence and labor of higher spiritual beings who work and vibrate continuously in man's understanding, inspiring and revealing the unknown to their incarnated brothers. That is why, at all times, I will say to the scholars and scientists, you cannot boast of that which you understand or accomplish, because it is not your work alone. Many times you serve only as the instrument of those spirits that I mentioned to you. Has not the reach of your discoveries often surprised you? Have you not confessed to yourself that you are unable, or incompetent even, to attempt the things you have already achieved? Here is your answer. So why do you puff yourselves up? Understand that your labor is guided by higher beings, and do not deviate from their inspirations, because they always lead to good. Why, when humanity has witnessed the development of science and has seen discoveries which it would not have believed before, does it resist believing in the evolution of the spirit? Why is it obstinate in that which makes it stationary and lethargic? My doctrine and my revelations in these times are in accordance with your evolution. Let not the scientist be vain in his material work or his science, for in it my revelation has always been present, as has the help of the spiritual world that inspires from the hereafter. Man is part of creation. He has a mission to fulfill, as do all creatures of the Creator. But he has been given a spiritual nature, an intelligence, and a personal will, so that through his efforts he can attain the development and perfection of the spirit, which is the most elevated thing he possesses. By means of the spirit, man can conceive of his Creator and understand his benefits, as well as admire his wisdom. If instead of being made conceited by your earthly knowledge, you would identify yourselves with all my work, there would exist for you no mysteries. You would recognize yourselves as brethren, and you would love one another as I love you. In you, there would be kindness, charity, love, and therefore union with the Father. Recognition of scientists who work for the good of humanity. Human science is the materialized expression of the spiritual capacity that man has reached in this time. The work of men in this time is not the product of their minds alone, but also of their spiritual evolution. Material science has revealed many mysteries to you. Never expect, however, that it will reveal to you all that you should know. The science of the men of these times also had its prophets, whom humanity mocked and judged as mad, but who astounded you when their predictions were fulfilled. I do not disown the men of science, since I gave them the mission they fulfill, but many of them have lacked the prayer, the charity, and the elevation of the spirit necessary to be the true intellectual leaders of humanity. Today, man has extended his territories, ruling and traveling throughout the world. No continent, land, or sea exists that has not been explored. He has made pathways through the land, the sea, and the air. However, he is not satisfied with his inheritance on earth, and now studies and explores the heavens in search of greater domains. I bless my children's desire for new knowledge. Their ambition to be wise, great, and strong greatly pleases me. But I do not approve of their ambitions, nor of their sometimes selfish goals. I have endowed man with the intelligence that permits him to examine the makeup of nature, as well as its manifestation. I have permitted him to behold a part of the universe, and to feel the manifestations of the spiritual world. My doctrine, therefore, does not stagnate the spirit, nor does it halt the evolution of man. On the contrary, it frees them and enlightens them so that they may analyze, reason, investigate, and work. However, what man believes to be the pinnacle of his intellectual research is barely the beginning.